Nigeria's headline inflation rate eased to 16.05% relative to the September 2025 headline inflation rate of 18.02%, the National Bureau of Statistics has stated. In its October 2025 inflation report, the NBS said the inflation rate showed a decrease of 1.96% compared to the September 2025 headline inflation rate, adding that on a year-on-year basis, the headline inflation rate was 17.82% lower than the rate recorded in October 2024, which was 33.88%. It added that on a month-on-month basis, the headline inflation rate in October 2025 was 0.93%, which was 0.21% higher than the rate recorded in September 2025. For food inflation, the rate was 13.12% on a year-on-year basis. It noted that the average annual rate of food inflation for the 12 months ending October 2025 over the previous 12 months average was 21.96%, which was 16.16% points lower compared with the average annual rate of change recorded in October 2024. An economist, Paul Alaje, is joining us via Zoom to discuss this new inflation figures. Are you there? Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Yeah, now, what key factors contributed to the significant drop in Nigeria's headline inflation from October 2024 to October 2025?
Thank you once again. We've seen that inflation numbers has eased according to the National Bureau of Statistics. We saw inflation number came around 16.05%. A number of factors are responsible. Number one is we are still in harvest season, which of course has helped increase supply side for food. And from your report, you see that the food inflation year on year was a major improvement from where it was. Secondly, and most importantly, is the base year effect. Compared to the base year that we used for last year, this year's base year was a lot more easier. And I've said after the base year for inflation was adjusted, that we'll see a continuous reduction in inflation. The challenge is that people may not match this with their personal economy or their living standards, because the base year effect does not necessarily mean that price in the market are at par with what the numbers are saying. However, the base year effect has its own advantages as it helps to boost confidence in Nigerian market because the number will ease. Another one is relative stability. We are seeing in the FX market and a lower pass-through effect. Now, when Nigeria has relative stability in the foreign exchange, it brings that kind of confidence and pricing does no longer fluctuate. Why? Because over 50% of all finished goods are imported into Nigeria. And I'm just being charitable. The number is far more than that. So when you combine this factor, which includes one, pass-through effect, which is more lower now, two, exchange rate, relative stability in exchange rate, three, as harvest season, and most importantly, the adjustment of base year. All of these factors is what come together that make us have a much reduced inflation rate.
Okay. Despite the year-on-year decline, what are the implications of the month-on-month rise?
Oh, good. So what you see is that month on month, we are no longer comparing year on year. When I mentioned the base year, it's year that was adjusted. So you are now having comparison on month versus month. That is why you see relative increase. That shows you the true picture. And I've said time and again that for us to see what can reflect on people's life, it might not be good right now to use year-on-year comparison until we get to next year, April, before we can compare year-on-year and going forward. What we see now are outliers number. That does not mean the numbers are lies. That's not what I'm saying. They are outliers number. They are more like shock in our economic conversation or discussion. So, and it's okay, Nigeria is not the first country to do that. But most importantly, the true reflection of inflation is more visible in year on year. So it shows that commodities or prices grew relatively higher at an increasing rate on monthly basis compared to what we saw in September. In October, it was relatively higher.
Now, okay, how sustainable is the current downward trend in food and headline inflation? And what policies are needed to maintain or accelerate it?
It's partly sustainable, but it's very fragile. And I think we should watch out for expectation effects. When we get to sometimes around the election period, people expect prices to go up. We expect money supply to increase. Disinflation, especially when it's based on, when it's concerns based year effect, might not totally be sustainable, but could be managed. We also have major structural vulnerability, which remains a major concern for the Nigeria economy. That is why over time, I think in the last 10 years, we have not seen single-digit inflation. So it's majorly because of structural challenges which affects logistics and the supply side. But I strongly believe that with the gain in our base year adjustment and seasonality that we have seen with inflation numbers, if we will be deliberate, especially at the subnational level, because when you look at the inflation numbers and you compare that to what is happening at subnational level, you see states like Ekiti topping the inflation trend for Nigeria. That means that there are some things we need to do within that state. And other states that are also badly affected. A few states are seeing a single-digit inflation, which they've not seen, I tell you, in a whole decade. So sustainability has to do with supply side. We have to be very focused. Base year adjustment will not give us what we want sustainably, but until we push out for supply in output, in production, and stop printing money, which of course I think largely has reduced. I think those will help us to get to the kind of destination that we want to be.
Paul Alaje there, thank you very much for your contributions on News Hour tonight.
It's a pleasure to be with you this evening.